My name is Blain Smith, and I just want to thank everybody for letting me speak here. I've watched TED Talks for, let's say, 2 or 3 years now, just constantly getting inspired. And once I found out that it was going to happen in Albany, I just knew I had to get a ticket, and turns out I got to be on stage instead. So my talk is the Master of My Fate, and I really fell in love with this quote for a long time because I truly believe that the choices you make really define who you are. You know, it's not, your path isn't set out for you. I actually believe this so much that I have each of those quotes tattooed on my rib cage, and I spent 6 hours getting that done. So that was well worth it. Now, growing up as a kid, my parents told me this all the time, you know, to teach me patience, good things come to those who wait, which is great. That's not always true because kids are always impatient. They always want the candy, the toy, whatever else it is. But as I started growing up, I started to realize, you know, maybe I should start, you know, making some decisions on myself. You know, I can't wait for something to be handed to me. So all the way through school, I did the right thing. I studied in. I never went to a party. I never drank beer until I got to college. And as it turns out, I actually started college in RPI back in 2000. It was a great school. I loved it. Unfortunately, back then, Troy in 2000 wasn't all that fun. And I was, you know, in love with my parents. I was never away from them for a very long time. So 3 hours from Boston was tough to deal with sometimes. So I eventually left and figured I'd try and find a school that was a little closer to home. So I found a similar one, WPI. I don't know if you know that. It's Worcester Polytech. And there I was studying computer science like I was in RPI, and I just started to realize like I didn't find that school was giving me what I wanted to get, you know, down the line as a career. You know, I was paying the astronomical prices for school, the books I was buying off Amazon for $40 a pop when I could probably just like go home and study that by myself because I was very self-taught. And this is when, you know, the economy and the dot-com bubble was kind of taking a turn for the worse. So I figured, okay, instead of doing hardcore engineering and math and computer science, I was always just good at that naturally. What if I actually go to school and pay for something that's worthwhile to sit, you know, hours on end in the classroom? So I transferred yet again. This time I ended up at Bentley University. So here I am paying back school loans of 3 different private schools, and I thought, okay, this is going to be it. I'm going to graduate with my bachelor's degree in, you know, IT management or, you know, a business sense, and this is going to put me where I need to be successfully. That still wasn't happening. I was working for a small dot-com at the time, but I could just see the industry kind of changing, and I'm looking at these school loans just going up and up and up, and now, you know, in the triple figures now, and I'm seeing these college graduates getting out, not making the $80,000, $100,000 that I'd been promised when I was a freshman, where now I'm closer into 6 years in private school with still no degree, with 100 plus to owe. And I could probably make 45 starting out. That math didn't just add up to me. So as hard as it was for me to do, I had to go and confess to my parents, I'm done with school. And that, I think, kind of broke their hearts a little bit because my mother never went to school. She never got a degree. My father got his associate, so naturally, parents always want to see their kids be successful. And I wanted to be. I've always wanted to be. I've had that urge to do that. So instead, you know, I just went back and I worked full-time for the dot-com. You know, I was learning and sucking up as much as I could, reading and, you know, listening to TED Talks and other conferences, and in the meantime, all of a sudden I got laid off from the dot-com. Big surprise. That's when everything happens. I'm like, crap, no, I'm out of a job. I have to pay back $100,000+ in loans and private school loans, and the hell am I going to do? Go to monster.com. That's what everybody does, right? Go to dice.com. Remember those 2 sites? I don't think anybody ever uses those anymore. But oddly enough, I actually found a recruiter on Craigslist. So he calls me up. It's like, okay, I got a couple opportunities. Why don't you come down? We'll talk, and we'll see what happens. I'm like, great. I go down there, and I give him a chat. He's like, all right, I have this job for you. It's in a computer language that you don't know, but why don't you just go and interview and see what happens? It's for Harvard University. I'm like, hell yeah, let's do that. I want to go work there. So I go in, and it turns out I'm like one of seven interviewees that they wanted to talk to. So I went in, I spent the half hour talking with my potential boss, and he picked me. So starting then, for the next 7 years of my life, I worked in the Harvard School of Public Health IT department as the senior web developer, making applications and supporting the public health school and whatever needs that they wanted. And that was probably the best job I've ever had, because that job gave me the freedom to just dive into my industry and learn and just suck up as much as I could. They put me through conferences. They sent me to Las Vegas. It was awesome. And then I met my wife, and she was going to school in Boston at the time, but turns out she was from Troy. And so we dated, and she had to move back home. So this was 5 years into my Harvard job, and so I just went to them and said, listen, I'm dating this woman, this is very serious, we're planning on getting married, buying a house, so on and so forth. Can I take my job, and can I move out there and work remotely? So surprisingly, they let me do that. And given the status of Harvard, like they're very old school and very regimented, like I didn't expect remote workers to be a thing at a school like that. So I was very, very fortunate for them to let me do that. But after I moved out here, I realized, like, okay, so I was in Boston, pretty much a mecca for technology, for web design, web programming. It's like I'm leaving all of this whole community, and I'm going to live in Saratoga Springs, New York. Where the hell is that? I knew kind of where it was because I was out here at RPI. Oddly enough, now I'm back in the mix. But working out of my house for so long, it's like I started to get stir crazy. It's like I can't be the only man on an island that does web tech, so I'm scouring Twitter and Facebook and Dribbble and LinkedIn. I'm like, there's got to be other people around here. And I stumbled across the first person I met was Brian Corrigan, and he was working at a company down in Troy at the time. And so through him, 6 degrees of separation, I'm finding all these people left, and I'm like, this is fantastic. There's so many people out here that do what I do. I go to meetups now. There's ones like once a month, like 6 that happen probably once a month. And now I could probably say that I probably know about 200 plus people just within the capital region that are in my industry, and it's just a fantastic community. So 2 years pass while I'm still working at home for Harvard, and I catch wind that Brian and my buddy Seth in the audience are starting a company up called Mad Glory. I'm like, I know Brian, he's awesome. Seth, yeah. I got to get on this train. I ingrained my life, my house, my wife, my dogs, everything is in Saratoga. My job was still in Boston. I needed to bring everything closer to home. So I aggressively went after that job. And all I had to do was give in my my GitHub profile just to say, this is my source code, my open source stuff that I wrote. And turns out that that's all it took. And I ended up starting as the 4th employee of Mad Glory. This was back in about a year ago, probably October, I think. And we're now at 12 strong, 12 partners, equal. We do web software for mostly the video game companies out there in the world, marketing sites, or extend their internal teams so we can help them do whatever they need to do. And that was great. And I believe it took all that drive from me making those decisions to get me where I was today. And not only did I do a lot of that academic work to learn and make me mentally focused and strong to be as successful as I am, but I also believe it really takes a lot of physical training as well to augment your mental capacity. So I was actually doing CrossFit for about a year and a half now. I make that a staple in my life. I also eat very, very well. I barely eat any processed foods anymore. And that has become a part of my life. It's not just a choice I made that I kind of do sometimes. So, all of those decisions that I made was, really the driving force of where I am today. And just to go back to this quote that my parents had taught me way back when, I love them so much, but really, this quote no longer applies, and I really believe that it's bullshit now. It's not. Because what it really should say is good things come to those who work their asses off and never, ever give up. And that's exactly what everybody should do in this audience. And I know I don't actually have to tell this audience to never get up, never stop learning, never stop being hungry, because why would you be here in the first place? You're all attendees at a TED Talk. But what I will want you to do, find your friends, your kids, your grandmothers, anybody, and spread that hunger as a virus. Because we need more people in the world that are as hungry to change the world, eager to learn, to make this world a much better place. Thank you.